Look at you, Dad, middle class, hanging out with
No. So
Uyghurs.
his first question was he was like, "Oh no, he thought that was my car, babe. That your car was mine."
Yeah.
He was like, "You're so middle class," and I was like, "I got a new wife." He was like, "You're not that middle class."
Said, all right, you still got a little edge.
You
I ain't judging, I ain't saying anything. I just said, you still got a little edge. You gotta keep your edge.
How we doing, guys? We're good. All right. All right. Thank you, John, for being here. Thank you for, agreeing to be.
We started? Or we
Yeah,
on?
it's already. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
I am.
All right. No.
It's
no,
a pleasure
it's
to be. I mean, look, Richard. I said we ran into each other outside on the way in. I had not seen you in probably since before the
years.
pandemic.
Yeah. It's been
I saw you
years.
at an event. I Have a Dream Foundation. You were there helping to represent for Homeboy Industries, which you've been a part of for so long. And I just admire you, Richard. And I was kidding. I don't want to be glib because I know that your past has been difficult and a lot of people are going through it. But you have changed. And I've literally seen people that you've inspired who've wanted to change their lives because of what you've done. I used to joke with you on American Crime. If I ever got jacked by anybody, I want to be you because you're like the nicest ex-gangbanger I've ever met in my entire life. You're like, hey, sir, I'm sorry, but I really need the money. Do you have an address? I'll get it back to you.
Hell yeah.
You know what? You keep it. Here's $2. I'm sorry to bother you. But in all seriousness, Richard, when I met you, I didn't know your background. You came in and you auditioned. We live in a world where sometimes we don't acknowledge the power of redemption, and we assume people are always going to be the same. I know there are people who'd be like, oh, well, based on his past, I could never forgive this guy.
Right.
But for you, it's not, oh, how do I get back to whatever? I did something wrong, but I want to be an actor. I want to do this. It was like I did something. I was involved in a circumstance where it was beyond my capacity to be different.
Right.
I served my time. I served my debt. This is now going to be my lifestyle, inspiring. And to me, that's the difference, because you've gone places where I couldn't see myself going to talk to people. You've been in situations where you've not given up, where I've literally seen you like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. I gotta go to bed. I got yoga in the morning, and I'm like, okay.
That happened. Yoga did happen.
Truth.
Yoga happened in Austin, Texas.
It did. But to me, that's also the power of it. Where like I'm on a different track. I got to stay on that track.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to bed at 10, I'm going to bed at 10.
Yeah.
If I'm doing yoga, I'm doing yoga. And I want people to know. I know this is kind of like starting out jarringly. People don't know you and people don't know your story. But hey, there's the internet. Jump on. Look up Richard Cabral. Look up his history. Look at. And I'll tell you, one of the happiest moments in my life was first season of American Crime when you got that Emmy nomination.
Hey. Yeah.
And I'm sorry we couldn't bring it home for you, but that to me was like, okay.
And that was everything. That changed the course of how I look at myself as an actor, as a storyteller. And a lot of people don't know, right? Like those American Crime days, but like we did something very special in Austin, Texas. I believe. And it was like, and I always give it to you because you set the tone, right? You gave us a world, a space. And I was thinking about like my wife and everybody I talk to, I always bring you up, John, because it's like I was spoiled by you and by American Crime season 1, and that ABC gave us the blessings to do that, right? Because you set the tone for me. And I was like, well, what is it, right? And I wrote some things down of how I feel about what that is, right? And you gave me this bit, so I'm gonna say it right here. So I say,
I feel like I'm being set up.
No, this is
driving up in the valley. You got the Godfather thing on. This is like a hit or something.
Hey, Tony.
It's like Pesci.
Hey, Paulie.
This is like Joe Pesci and Goodfellas. You're gonna be a made man. Just come up to this house. It's up in the mountains.
Up in the hills, right?
Open the door. There's nobody inside. Whap.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you're going to whack me, don't do it like where you don't know you're getting whacked. I don't want that split second of like, oh, I'm getting whacked. I don't want to know.
Yeah,
I'm here, I'm not here.
Boom, back of that, done.
Right. It's like taking a nap.
All right.
You got a question.
You created a space for artists to inhabit their truth and work it out on the set that you created. No, straight to the point, capturing the greatest storytelling the filmmaking gods have granted us. This is where I create, when I'm able to trust and be my most vulnerable self. And I'm able to be my most vulnerable self to the world. So I thank you, John Ridley, for making that happen.
Well, it's kind of you to say, but I really believe that. I really do. Is that, and I just use this as an example for you, and I'm not just trying to make it a mutual admiration society, but this is, you talk about truths, Richard, and I talked about, you lived a life I can't even imagine in any way, shape, or form. I can't. So I could write a version of a Richard Cabral, and it's going to sound like a guy who has no sense of your lived experience in any way, shape, or form, trying to write dialogue for a guy who lived that life and was going to portray that life on camera, right? And there was a day, for example, where I think we were rehearsing or something. As you were in the hospital bed. Richard, if you haven't seen the show, Richard played a young man who had come to the country non-documented, had gotten involved in gang violence, had been, as he was being apprehended by law enforcement, was shot in the leg, was unarmed, but was shot, is in the hospital bed, is being interviewed by the police as a suspect in the murder. He knows he didn't do it. And at that point in the show, we don't know who did what. But there was a moment in rehearsals where there's a bunch of dialogue I wrote, whatever, it's okay. And you're in bed and you're doing it and you're doing the line. And you said something, you improv'd a line, and you said, you know why you shot me? It's because you don't give a shit about me. And he's saying this to a police officer, and the police are questioning, and your character kept saying, why'd you shoot me? Why'd you shoot me? This rhetorical question. And finally you say to the police officer, because they're not really responding to you, they say, you know why you shot me? Because you didn't give a shit about me. And that wasn't in the script. But you said it, and you said it in a way where I said, that's real. And I can sit here and write all day and come up, oh, there's some clever writing. Or I can go with what the person who lived it and said it, not just wrote it. It's not that you just improv'd it, but you said it in a way that was real, that I believed it. And that's what it's all about, whether it's American crime, if it's Harry Potter, if it's a superhero movie, if it's a comedy, you still got to buy something. And when you or anybody on that set is doing something, I'm going to be beholden to the things that I wrote and this and that. But when somebody shows up and they're not like, I work with actors like, oh, script, I'm just going to do what I want to do. And you're like, oh, we're going to have a problem. Or you can work with people in your life, and they're part of the process. And it's respect. But hey, here's this one thing, and I'm going to do it in a way where the performer, the actor. And by the way, if it's the DP Ramsey I'm working with, if he's got a better idea, why would I not use his better idea? If it's Libby, the AD, if she's looking at the schedule and goes, hey, we should do it like this. We actually should take this scene and do it on this day. We kind of have to do this scene first because of our schedule. But then we have the rest of the run of the show to do this, this, and this. So it's going to work out better. If she's saying that, I'm not going to go, well, I want that scene first. So I'm going to do that scene first. I don't care what you say. You have to listen to the people around you who make you look better. And if you're the person who ended up, I can't, make an Emmy nomination appear. The performer's got to say to his or her peers, here's my performance. You be the judge of that. So to me, you're very kind, but ABC gave us latitude. If somebody gives us latitude, all of us have to be responsible with that latitude. We had a budget. Michael McDonald, the producer on the show, made sure we came in under budget every year. Not massively. It wasn't like we're saving.
But that within itself is.
But that in itself is the executives. There's a reason executives were not on set because we were responsible. And they were on the sets that were not being responsible. So to me, it was just great working with people who were mature. You guys were on time every day. You were rehearsed. You worked great as a unit. Everybody got along. It was a fun show because it was an ensemble show, so you had like 10 great actors who worked once a week. That was the other thing.
But it was just like I was talking about this earlier. Like I remember we would actually go to others to the sets when others were just like, and that is what like, And when I say I'm spoiled, right, because that didn't happen after, right? I've been on many shows after this experience, and it was never that. And like to feel that community, you know, through it was just something that was very special. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. However it worked out, however the stars aligned,
it works, but it was everybody involved. It really does. And to me, you know, I've been on sets too where I'm like, wow, I can't believe it's run like this. It's for people who may be listening and don't know. Here's the thing: is people go, oh, what are you whining about? It's Hollywood. You guys, all you do is you go to premieres and you're in tuxedos and gowns and all of that. And that part of that's very true.
That's part of it.
And
that's
we're very lucky for it. But this is, on a good day, it's a 13-hour day.
Right.
On a good day, it's 13 hours. It's rarely a good day. Most of the time, it's 14, 15, 16 hours. And a lot of times, you know, the director, particularly in episodic, because they're not part of the process every week, you know, they show up, and it's not that they're not good, but they don't know what was going on last week.
Right.
They don't know what's going to go on next week. They don't have a lot of time to build a rapport with the entire crew, with the cast. The EPs usually just, hey, don't mess up the show.
Yeah.
Just do what we tell you to do.
Yeah.
And that's hard for a director to come in like, I want to be creative. No, just set up and shoot.
Yeah. And that's stressing within itself.
Stressing. So it's an environment where, and it's not like, hey, we're making a car. It's got to be like this. The bumpers have to be like this because the government said so. It's got to get this much mileage. The engine needs to be like this. You know, it's creative. How do I know what's really good? How do I know what people are going to like?
Right.
You know, how do I know what you're going to like? How am I going to, you know, you're an actor who I never like to, you know, I have this one thing that just for me, it's not a creative thing. So there are all these things that go into it that make it really stressful. Plus, you're responsible for $5, $6, $7, $8 million every week. You know, I'm an idiot. I got the grades to prove I'm an idiot, but somebody wants me to be responsible for $8 million a week. You know, $100 million, you know, a series. You were talking about 5 Days at Memorial. That I can't say. Apple will get mad. That was a lot of money.
Yeah, let's just start there. That was a lot of money. Yeah.
And for me to wake up, and I'm, you know, I'm at the point in my life, I am stupid. I don't care. I don't, you know, why would you give me that much money? I got meetings and they're like, yeah, we're going with the show. We're going to pick it up. I'm like, wow, you people are really... So it takes everybody, and I appreciate everything that you did on your first show. I appreciate what Felicity, who's been working forever. I appreciate Regina, who's been working forever. I work with young people who had never worked before, or people who won Oscars, people who won Emmys. That's also the magic, because it's people who won Tonys.
All together in one world, and it all happened like that. It's rare, and it was just a special thing to be a part of. I kind of want to go into when you took to no studios, right? And that's a thing, like a lot of people don't know that side of you and what you represent, and you calling me to your hometown, and you know, and for me to be, I was very like, whenever you call me for whatever occasion, I will be there. That's just what it is, right? And you're like, you told me some stuff, I was like, but I didn't really hear it. I was just like, where you want me at? Wisconsin, Milwaukee, I'm there, right?
No, you were great as always. And as I said when we sat down, you know, you're one of those people, it's not just, oh, hey, some things went wrong in my life. Now I'm in Hollywood. It gives me something to talk about when I go on talk shows. You live it every day. I've seen you work with young people. I've seen you, you know, we live in a horrible world, but every once in a while, really good things happen. That, you know, that wasn't me, Richard. That was you. That was you turning your life around. That was you dedicating yourself to being better. That was saying to every young person out there who is like, I'm trying, but the world ain't helping me. You know, I'm trying to do good things, but, you know, the man, society, the prevailing culture still sees me as this. And I'm trying to do better, but this is all I can get. When they see you, that maybe gives them another day or a week or a month to go, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. So all the rest of this is nice, but what you do is real. You know, what I do is Hollywood.
Right.
You know, that's the thing.
Right.
And that's, and I will say also, it was really hard because there was an actor we worked with.
Been
in the life, came out of the life.
And went the total opposite.
Couldn't escape it.
Yeah.
It broke my heart. But the difference is, and I'm not trying to be mean, I could see that on set, and I could see how you arrived to set every day
because
and
it's
choices.
like we're so blessed. We're so like I thank the gods every day I'm able to be on set. That was the dream, right? And like now that we have the opportunity to not spoil it.
But that's the thing, the opportunity. And I would say to anybody, never minimize that opportunity, because I'm telling you, sometimes they come once, and sometimes that opportunity maybe doesn't get you where all the way, but if it gets you that far from where you were, take it and run with it, and don't ever, particularly, I mean, Hollywood is so, there's a part of me, I feel like people under 21, you know, same way you can't drink, same way you can't buy wheat, you shouldn't be allowed to work in Hollywood, because I think honestly, truly, giving a young person,
that's a good one,
a paycheck
of that amount of a
lot of money, and you don't know
like
when your next job is going to come.
Gun.
Oh, in a lot of ways it is.
Fucking gun,
because it's like, okay, I can do anything now. I'm the man.
I'm the man.
I got checks. I got people coming around. I got agents calling. I'm on TV. I got my clique is around me. And when that money stops, or the job changes,
reality. This is reality now.
It's a kick in the teeth. And if you're not ready yet for that, and the truth is, there are young people ready. There are people 45, people my age
that are not ready.
So it's not just a young thing, but to see it happen to someone young, is a lot different than seeing somebody who's maybe a little older and okay, maybe I can figure it out or whatever, or anything like that. And that broke my heart when that news broke, and I was just like, okay, you know, I could see it coming.
And what do you think kept you strong? What kept you the resilience to continue from where you come from? Because I've been to your community, that's why, you know, and I know but you could unfold the story how you want, but you know, what was it?
I don't know. I was young and stupid too, I think. I really was. I mean, I was a black guy coming to Hollywood in the 90s. There wasn't much work. There wasn't many opportunities. There's still not enough. There's still not enough representation. And we're behind. You know, we're finally representing black people we're finally starting to represent black people in film and television pretty well. But black people are no longer the largest minority in America. You know, Hispanics are. So we're already behind.
Where are we at right there?
Yeah, we're way behind. The demographic that over-indexes the most at the box office, who are the least represented, but go the most compared to their per capita within the United States of America, Asian Americans. Okay, so we're way behind in representing Asians. Okay, fastest growing demographic, BIPOC, multi-ethnic. We are so freaking far behind in representing that. So, you know, we're decades behind in what we should be doing. So I was stupid to come out here and think that I had a chance. I was stupid when I was working. I was stupid. I've just been stupid. I think I'm finally getting smart, and a lot of my smartness is now I don't really want to do it anymore.
You say that, but also like you came to this city and something triggered you that a lot of people come that don't. And specifically, it was the LA riots.
Well,
not that, because you made this. I don't know if people have seen the documentary Let It Fall, right?
Let It Fall, the documentary about
Let It Fall. And for me, as a native Angelino, that was one of the most powerful stories of that, because, and I say it like this, because you gave a full scope of it. You just gave a three-dimensional side of, and like, and for you, like, because you chose to do that, right? That was a lot of work, John, and like, what made that happen?
It did affect me, because I'm not from LA, and from a small town in the Midwest, mostly white. You know, Wisconsin is like 90%, I mean, truly like 90% white. Really, some really terrific people there, some not so terrific people there, but mostly, I mean, really wonderful people. But when I was growing up, you know, because the demographics were so white, there weren't, and I put this in heavy quotes, there weren't a lot of race issues. And I put that in quotes because there weren't issues because, you know, they felt safe. You know?
We're
in the majority. You know?
What do you?
And you're, as a black person, you're like, I just don't want to.
know.
You're right. I'm outnumbered. Let's just all be cool. So there were issues, there were problems, but they were largely kept in place because, you know,
that's how
outnumbered.
That's
how it goes. So when I went to New York in the late mid to late 80s. I was in New York. That's the first time, you know, it was Bernie Getz, Howard Beach, Crown Heights riots, Freddie's Fashion Mart, stuff like that, where I'm like, oh, this is racist. Black and white people don't get along. So I'm like, finally, I want to go to LA. LA is clean and pristine and beautiful, and everybody gets along, and no problems. We are the world, and all of that. And I get out here, and as soon as I get out here, Rodney King gets beaten. Been out here for a while.
You get out there that year that happens, right?
Yeah. That was, I was out here, just got out here. And then the riots, the uprising was 92,
right.
A year later. And I was just like, okay, this city is insane. And everybody's fighting. It's black against white, black against Asian. Mexican, you know, everybody against Mexicans. Everybody was against the Mexicans. You know, and I'm like, everybody hates everybody. But at that time, I was a younger black man, and my perspective was, oh, everybody hates black people. I couldn't have done Let It Fall in if somebody said, hey, 1993, it just happened, go do your story, it would have been just from the black perspective and the perspective of somebody who doesn't even know anything about LA. You know, so 25 years later, when we actually did the documentary, I was older. I had met many different people in LA. My wife grew up in that area. She's Asian American. Her perspectives were very different about that. But she also grew up, you know, she was in Carson. She grew up around black people. She grew up around Hispanic individuals. She her perspective, people that I then met, people that I then work with. That was a whole different thing. And it was like, okay, this story needs to be told from multi-perspectives and from people who lived it.
Yeah.
And that, to me, if there's anything that made my work better, I had a nice career up till around 2007. And then after 2007 till now, it's been very different because I was like, okay, I'm going to do lived experience. It's not just Undercover Brothers, not just the movie that became Three Kings or U-Turn or just this kind of weird, eclectic, odd stuff. It started becoming, hey, it's Red Tails. I'm going to sit with Tuskegee Airmen and listen to their stories. My uncle was a Tuskegee Airman. I'm telling their story.
That's when it changed for you as the storytelling?
Yeah, that's when it changed. That's after that, and that's when I did the Hendrix film, and then everything changed after the Hendrix film.
Yeah.
Everything changed after Hendrix.
Right, yeah.
And then it was 12 years, and I'm adapting somebody's story. I'm learning about slavery. You know, as a black person in America.
That was 12 years, right? 12 years.
You know, you think, okay, you know, slavery is not that far away from us. You know, my father's father's father would have been born or come out of Reconstruction. So it wouldn't have been that unusual for my father have had stories passed from his grandfather to his father to him about slavery. So you grow up as a black person in America. I know about slavery. I always liked history. I remember when I was like in third grade, you know, I could recite the Gettysburg Address, you know, the Civil War, all of that. But then you start really doing that research. And you realize, I don't know anything about slavery in America. And part of the problem in America is that we don't know about slavery. We don't know about the Trail of Tears. We don't know
the real
about
history.
Tulsa. We don't know these things because the prevailing culture does not want us to talk about it
for a reason.
For a reason. So that was something to me. But that's where I started to become, okay, it's time for me to shut up and let other people tell their stories.
Right.
And that, to me, is, if I've had a nice career at all, you know, it was like, oh, we're telling these weird, funny, unusual things when he was younger.
Right.
But now he's telling these things, and then I get to sit with you and do a podcast because people think I know something, but I don't.
But then it changes too to DC Comics.
Yes. Well, then it goes back.
And that's really the big, for me, I haven't seen you since then, right? That happened after. And like that, I mean, what is that like? Where's like, what's that world? What's that universe?
Honestly, it's Rosebud. It's just going back to, I mean, look, I'll be honest, and I've been very fortunate in my career, but it's just hard when you're telling stories about real people, about real things, about stuff like that. People are, you know, for all kinds of reasons, we don't want to tell that story. We don't want to, you know, American Crime, I can't imagine that show, certainly not on broadcast television.
Yeah.
An issue-oriented show.
Yeah. We did
telling stories from every demographic about what's going on in America, it's no happy ending. The crime was never solved. It never solved.
Yeah.
It's just, it was real. And that'll never happen again. And I'm thankful for a lot of the work that I did, but the world is real. And I love seeing Marvel films with my kids. I love, I don't know if I love, but my wife likes romantic comedies. All right, we're going to sit and watch some Netflix. Wrong box from Tiffany's. All right.
All right.
Strap in. Here we go.
Yes. So this is what every husband feels, but we don't say it.
You go from wife to wife. I got the same. I got to sit at home with, okay, don't leave me. Nobody else will be with me. You got the advantage. Other people might want to be with you, Richard. I found one person who wants to be with me.
I got one person that will put up with me.
No, I got one person. You would clearly have more than one person who will put up with you. I got one person who will put up with me, Richard. So, but, and by the way, listen, all of that Marvel or romantic comedy, all that is fine. If it entertains, it entertains.
This is entertainment too, right?
It's
entertainment. There's that part of it too. Sometimes I think we think
that's all people need is entertainment. So I don't want to get down on that. But to me, to be able to talk about the world we live in and make sense of it, because the world doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I see things that are going on right now where it's not just the things that don't make sense, because that's beyond.
Then they confuse the
but it's the confusion of, okay, can I use this slogan? Can I say this? Can I talk about, I feel this pain, but I still feel their pain too? It's like, if you can't talk about the things that other people don't want to talk about, then who's going to do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
somebody's doing the romantic comedy. Somebody's doing the Marvel film. The thing that I do well is saying, I'm going to create a space where we're going to talk about that stuff that you don't want to talk about. And we're going to talk about it in a fairly real way. And people have, 5 Days of Memorial was phenomenal. And to me, Stephen King is one of the greatest storytellers. He would tweet about American crime. He tweeted about 5 Days of Memorial. People would see it, people would cry. And then, people, they don't watch it because it's painful. And I'm like, I get it, it's painful, but it happened.
It happened, It
happened.
And we have to
deal with that.
Yeah, we have to deal with it.
So for me, the reason I do like graphic novels now is because it's lower stakes, bigger reward. And there are things that I can talk about and the things that we can do. We did a graphic novel, GCPD, The Blue Wall, and it's set in Gotham City, but it's about interactions with police and community. And it was really difficult. It was an amazing book. It was really phenomenal. I don't know that it sold very well because even people in comic books, they don't want to do it. But when people, again, go back to the opportunities. If a company like DC is saying to me, we're going to let you do a graphic novel that's unusual. And it's not going to be for everybody, but it's going to be for very specific people who have the capacity. And by the way, I'm not saying other people don't have the capacity, but there is a capacity in saying I'm going to try something. There is a capacity in saying I'm going to give it a shot. And I don't have the capacity for some things. So this is not, they don't. There's some things, I don't have the capacity for Taylor Swift. She's amazing. She's great. She's a phenomenal artist. It's just not where I lay. So I get it. Everybody has different capacities. But when a company like that says to someone like me, we're going to let you tell a story, and it's their money, it's their space, it's their bandwidth. We're going to let you do this because we think there's a value in it. You got to make the most of that opportunity. So to me, those are the things now. Why do a graphic novel? I just said a graphic novel just came out as we talk, you and I, Richard, yesterday. Ministry of Compliance. Where to me, the whole thing is about why are we the way we are? Why is society so messed up? Why can't we get along? Why are we damaged as humans? And then how do you spin a narrative out of that is fantastic in some ways, that is literally otherworldly. And has conspiracies and has some action and things like that. But to me, again, it's somebody saying, hey, we believe in this idea on a fundamental level. So we're going to put everything behind it. They're already talking about, hey, we want to make, not make, but, people want to convert and try to make a movie or something out of it. But it's already like, okay, well, how do we water this down a little bit? How do we make it, it needs to be more of an action movie or this and that. And it kind of breaks my heart a little bit, where it needs to really be something else as opposed to, well, maybe it should be what it is, and we should figure out how to make it in a way, okay, let's not spend $90 million on it. Is there another way to do it? Is there a way to do it where it's more aligned with its own ambitions.
So the Ministry of Compliance is your new project, and it just launched yesterday, right?
Yeah, as we speak, it launched yesterday on what would have been the 15th of November.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you and can you speak a little bit about that, of what it is?
Yeah, so it's kind of a flip on an alien invasion story. So the concept is, why are we so divided as people? Why so polarized? Every single thing that we talk about, half the world feels this way, half the world feels this way. We can't get along. And the concept is that there's been a slow roll alien invasion going on, and they've been, we talk about, it's the Russians or the Chinese, the North Koreans who are, fostering dissent, but it's really aliens who are using our own ill will against us because they want to put us in a place where nobody gets along. And then, if we don't have unity, how do we stand up for each other? How do we fight the good fight? How do we do anything if we're not unified?
Right.
So they've been working on us in the book for 39 years. It's taken a little longer. That we're not as Earthers as stupid and gullible as they thought. But after 39 years, where the world is now, they're ready. They're ready to take over. They're ready to invade. And their whole philosophy is really, it's almost like a business where everything is operated, it's functional. Everything is on time, and we got to do it this way. And there's a hierarchical structure, and it's very uniform in that regard. And everything is like, this is how we do it. And we always get it done. And, it's like a business that just runs,
It's like
Starbucks, Amazon, ordered it yesterday. It's here today. And just as they're ready to invade, they get a message from their home world, and it's like, oh, we've recalled the prime minister. Everything is off. Just sit where you are, and you'll get further instructions. And they sign off. And so you've got, maybe 100 people on Earth who've been, doing this operation who are now cut off. They're outnumbered like 100 million to 1. And, and they're like, okay, now what the hell do we do? And so everybody starts panicking. It's every person for themselves. And the lead individual, Abigail Senna is her name, has to keep everybody together until they figure out what's going on. But they start to realize now they're being hunted and somebody is coming after them. And she's got to figure out, she's got to take care of her people
save them.
who are all freaking out
over,
while trying to figure out who is hunting them and who's trying to take them out. And a lot of it really is about, under the surface, it's about colonialism. It's about immigration. It's about power. It's about the prevailing culture. It's about that concept of like, oh, colonialism. It's like when Newt Gingrich is walking around accusing Barack Obama of being anti-colonial. And I'm like, well, I hope to God he's anti-colonial. Our founding fathers were anti-colonial. Colonialism has never given us one single good thing other than oppression, exploitation, genocide, imposition of other people's views. So when people like that, like Newt Gingrich, really walking around saying like anti-colonial, and I'm like, nobody would call him out. We're America because we're anti-colonial. And yet then we impose colonialism. We have Hawaii because that's a colonial property. We used to have, the Philippines were colonial. Puerto Rico is still colonial. Right. So that to me is, and part of the problem in the story in Ministry of Compliance is that they're on Abigail. Abigail represents in the story as a black woman. So part of the story is, okay, so you all have a problem with colonialism when it's represented by a black woman.
Right.
But when you all are doing it, it's all good.
Yeah.
And their whole thing in the Ministry of Compliance is, we're bringing civilization to an uncivilized planet.
Yeah, that's the...
And the idea with colonialism is, hey, all we're doing is we're taking the savages and we're going to give them religion, we're going to give them education, we're going to give them peace. What's wrong with that? All you all do is fight. We're giving you peace. What's wrong with that? Because we don't want peace imposed. We want freedom. We want free will, but our free will is, well, we're going to kill everybody because you're not like me. I'm going to hate you. I'm going to kill you because you're not like me. So that's where it gets a little deep. But that to me is, if I can't tell that story in another space, why would I not do it on the page? Right. And my whole thing is
it easier in those worlds to tell these stories, do you think, or it's harder?
It's harder because somebody is letting you to do it. And when you have, when somebody says, okay, do it, you want. You complain. Oh, if somebody could actually let me do what I would do, I'd be a genius.
That's dangerous,
oh,
right?
If it weren't for the executives giving me those notes, this show would be so great. It'd be perfect. Okay, well, then somebody actually lets you do what you want to do.
You're like, oh.
If Anthony Davis hadn't blocked that shot, man, I would have been great. Okay, well, Anthony Davis is on the bench now. Let's see you make that shot.
Here we go. Here we go.
So to me, it's harder because it's put your money where your mouth is.
And then,
put your money where your mouth is.
And so, like, these shots that we're talking about, right? Because I've been honored to be around some of these shots, right? And one specifically, I think the opening for second season, where the dance, remember they did the dance? You had them do, and it was the dance for, right, of the representation of what had happened. But you worked on that. Can you talk a little bit about that shot?
So if it's the one I think you're thinking of, in the second season, the story is about sexual assault.
Okay.
And it feels like it's going to go. I mean, look, I don't even want to get started. There's no good degree of sexual assault or whoever it happens to, but it starts in a direction where I think a lot of audiences go, okay, I know where it's going. It could still be a powerful story, but I know where it's going, and it goes in a different direction. But all we know in the first episode is that there was an alleged sexual assault. And there's a moment with a couple of dancers, and we don't know who they are. We just see a young lady, and a man's hand comes in and just, I think this is what you're talking about, grabs her face. And just really holds it tightly. And there's a moment where you're like, oh, are we seeing a representation of this? Is this another assault? What is it? And then we pull back and we see that it's just a dancer. And they're very physical, but and this is where you take the things that you see and the things that you learn. I always liked dance, but I'd never really patronized dance. Like go to a dance theater, really watch. And I was in New York, and there's a theater now that we actually work with a lot called the Joyce Theater in New York City. And it's an amazing company. They're just dedicated to dance. They do dance all the time. And in fact, actually, and this is just interesting in my life, I just, as I said, didn't patronize dance a lot. But then I went to the Joyce Theater and saw the dance and was so blown away by it. You'd mentioned No Studios, which is our arts organization where we really support art and artistry. Please go to nostudios.com. Check us out, nostudios.com. But we actually ended up sponsoring a dance performance just this past October at No Studios of this amazing dance company from Japan. So here's me, never around dance. A bunch of years later, I have an arts organization. We're actually bringing international artists to the Joyce Theater in New York, supporting amazing dance. But to your question about that shot, I'd seen this dance and it was so physical and just, dancers, because of a lot of their motion, they can't wear a lot of clothes. So you look at this line between, society where we need to and are realizing even more the boundaries that we have to have. What is it like for people, particularly women, in spaces where that boundary is not often defined, and we need to do a better job of defining that boundary. And yet there are other places in art where a lot of what it is not having a boundary in our expression and what we do and what we say and how we say it. And that safe space of, hey, we're artists, so we're saying this, and we're putting it out there to challenge, and we're putting it out there to push society, but we're not trying to offend, but we are trying to offend, if that makes sense. So in this piece, when I was looking at these dancers and being physical, and it's like, okay, is this appropriate or inappropriate? Is this right or is it not right? Well, it's appropriate because everybody, rules, and we're doing this and we all get it and all that. But man, you put that in a different space and
it becomes something else.
So that's what I wanted to say with that shot, where, and in some ways it's a little like Fellini, where, you show something and it's in one context, and you pull the camera back and it's in another context, and you're like, this is what it means. And so that's, it means actually a lot to me that you as an actor and a professional, you remember that. And it wasn't just, we shot some stuff today.
No. And I remember the attention to detail, and I remember like how everybody was worked up for. And another shot was the riot and the riot scene that we did in San Marcos, Texas. San Marcos, right? And I wasn't even in that scene. But I remember the preparation for that. And like, that's what I think people don't understand. Like your mind as a director, as a showrunner, as a filmmaker, like you planned that shot for weeks.
We planned it a lot.
I don't know what the time was, right?
Rachel Morrison directed that episode. Rachel is
one of the... And you have to watch it. We're going to try to put a link to that scene, and just, it's Yeah,
Rachel's great. Rachel is had started her career probably in many places, but was a director of photography and did Fruitvale Station with Ryan Coogler. And
that's right.
She's just an artist and a collaborator. And by the way, one of the things that I really loved about American Crime, let me just say this, and this was something Michael McDonald really pushed us on, is that we had our percentage of female directors on that show, 90% of the directors on American Crime were female, or of color, or women of color.
Yeah.
So we had people like Rachel Morrison, Vic Mahoney,
Nikki Cassell, the one with the glasses with the curly hair.
Nikki Cassell,
yeah, she was who
went on to she did the pilot for Watchmen.
Yeah, that's right.
But Nikki did a film a bunch of years ago. Kevin Bacon, I think, was in it with Woodsman. It's so phenomenal. And I saw that film years ago, and I think I directed a couple things, but I'm like, okay, when I direct, I'm stealing that shot, I'm stealing that shot, I'm stealing that shot. And so Nikki was like, she was really happy when I called and said, I want to work with you on American Crime. And she's like, I was just curious, why did you pick me? And I said, because Nikki, I've stolen so many of your shots. I owe you so much money. So we had these amazing directors, but Rachel Morrison was directing that episode, and it was really just a lot, because we had to shoot an entire uprising. We had one day to do it. And we had from, dawn to dusk to do it. And we had, hundreds of extras, and there was action. There were, police officers, both actors. We had real police officers there. We had our technical advisors.
She got crazy that day too, I heard, right?
We had, I heard that, it was, I mean, we were just running around shooting. We had to, people getting hurt. So
keep it going. Just keep the camera rolling.
It was
rolling.
Basically, we had just shot. But a lot of that was sitting down with Rachel, and it was interesting because initially it was like I was on the phone with Rachel, and she had concerns about the time and all this kind of stuff, and I said, we looked at it. Can we get more time? We can't get more time. I said, Rachel, we can do this. We can do it. And once we locked in, we're going to do it. She was so on point and was so masterful, and like all the directors was just a joy to work with. But the thing is like, what is great to me is when you get to that moment where you're like, okay, we know we're going to be challenged, but we're gonna rise to the occasion.
Yeah, we're gonna do this.
We're gonna do this. Yeah, and you can do it with the prep, with the work. And by the way, with things like, we had actors who will come out on the weekends and rehearse.
And rehearsal was a big thing. That's right. I mean, that's what a lot of people don't. Huge. Like, let me just mic drop right there. Like, it's the rehearsals, John. How, like, you directors, you showrunners, that you guys, what don't you think? What makes you think you don't have to rehearse, guys? What makes you fucking think you don't have to rehearse?
I'm coming off.
You guys are lazy. If you don't rehearse, you're lazy.
Thank you.
Filmmakers are lazy.
Thank you.
Rehearse.
Thank you. If you just do one clip of the show, pull that out. John. I'm coming off of a film. I would ask for rehearsal days, and they'd be like, "Yeah, we're not going to give you." I'm like,
"What the?"
John, we were doing reshoots. Like, we were doing additional photography. So we'd already
I don't want to work with you guys. If directors, if you do not rehearse, I do not want to work with you. Send that offer back.
And by the way,
send that offer back.
Executives, like, we're going to spend $100 million on a project, but we don't want to spend to rehearse.
What the
It's like being a football team. Yeah, but we're not gonna practice Monday through Saturday. We're just gonna show up on Sunday and play.
John.
What other job? If you get a chance, hey, we're doing a computer, but we're not gonna do a prototype. We're just gonna put this stuff into Best Buy and you go buy it. So I'm coming off of a film. I would beg for rehearsal days. Well, it's gonna cost. Well, you know how much is it gonna cost if we don't get it right on the day?
Ooh, how much is it gonna cost on that though? How much is it gonna cost on reshoots though?
But part of it too is you can pay for it. But the actors, it's like, we'll come, we'll do it.
Let me speak on the actor side, because for me as an actor, right, like I want to work out the first. I want to fluff it out, right?
Yeah.
That's the point of it. I want to find, right? And as an actor, it's collaborative effort, right?
Yeah.
It's not like, what do you need? Where do you need me at? And I remember one of the key things that it was, you told me this and it stuck with me, right? Because as an actor, you're learning how to emote, but they don't teach you how to gauge your emotion.
Right.
And you said, it's not you don't always have to force that emotion like that, right? It was like, but that's where we find out in rehearsals. I found that shit in rehearsals.
There was a day I went out with Tim and Felicity. It was the second episode, and there was something that we wanted to shoot. And I had this shot in my mind. Well,
was that the oneer? That long oneer? The open?
It wasn't that one, but they rehearsed that.
That was a good one.
That one they rehearsed, but there was one in episode 2 where we were. But by the way, even that, the thing about rehearsing it is. Well, let me talk about this one in episode 2 because I had the shot. I thought it was perfect, and we rehearsed it like a couple of days before. It was BS. It was so bad. It was so bad, and to have the time in that moment to go, this is bad, right? And Ramsey was there, and this is where I fell in love with Ramsey, our DP. He runs off, and there was a parking structure right next to the hospital. We were shooting at the hospital. And I had not really worked with Ramsey beyond the pilot, so this was episode 2, and I'm like, I don't really know this guy. I'm like, where's it going? And he comes running back down, and he had this shot in his mind since the pilot. And he's like, we go up here on the second floor of the parking tower. You can see the hospital. We'll have the sun behind Tim Hutton. Felicity's going to walk in the shot. We got a golf cart so we could follow them down the down ramp and just go with them. And then Felicity gets in her car and drives off. And we have the shot of Tim. And this was the other great thing about ABC. I swear to you, it's about 20 seconds of him just walking away alone. Any other network would be like, John, we're not going to sit here for 20 seconds and let an actor
walk.
Our money, our Oscar-winning actor is just going to walk. And ABC was like, yeah, okay. And I normally don't watch the stuff that I shoot, but for whatever, and because it's a really nice scene, and I work with Ramsey a lot, and I'm like, we did that shot, it was nice. And I'm watching it, I'm going like, holy shit, they let me let this actor walk for like 20 seconds on broadcast TV. And I know if I were in the audience, I'd probably be looking at this going, what is this? But it was what we wanted to do, and it spoke to the character of just this dude being alone.
That was it. Alone.
You got your wife is driving, you're walking. So
and that was that.
It was. Here's the thing: American Crime was 3 years of doing 10 indie films a week.
That's right. It was a 10.
But the checks cleared. That was the difference from indie film. Our checks cleared. I wasn't getting a call from Richard going, my agent says I wasn't paid for the last 2 weeks.
No, we were
so
paid.
I won't be coming.
Yeah. And another thing, just, just being in Austin, it's like we're in this little bubble.
That was
great. And like it's always great being home and filming in LA, but one of just the great things is just being out there and just, we were just all in this own little world for a couple months.
There were only so many ways to get in trouble in Austin. And it was, in that first season, it was like a traveling carnival group, and we were just, I didn't know you didn't know Felicity, nobody knew anybody. And it was like, okay, we're going to be in this space, and we're going to either love each other or hate each other.
That's it.
And I think we came out of it really loving each other. And I think,
and it speaks because here we are, I don't know, years later.
Yeah.
And we still, I see Felicity at the airport, not too long ago.
See Cherry Jones I worked with again.
Yeah, that's
Lily.
All that.
Taylor was phenomenal. And that was the other great thing is like Regina, we just did a film together.
Yeah.
But like Lily, we were so lucky to get Lily in season 1. And she played a part that she elevated that part so much.
Yeah.
And she's an actor who I've admired.
New York, right?
New York, real deal.
Yeah.
Actor.
Theater, the whole get.
And she put so much into that part that it's one of those things where like, you're coming back season, we're going to give you as much as we. And that to me was the great thing was, Andre Benjamin in season 2. I did a film with Andre. He's one of the most amazing artists.
Yeah.
By the way, if you don't know, he's got a new album coming out finally, first album in I don't know
like the decade.
How long.
That's amazing.
So I don't know nothing about it other than I'm getting it the day it comes out.
Yeah,
it's Andre Benjamin.
And I remember something specifically from that screening of the Jimi Hendrix, and when you were talking about casting Andre, and I think you had called them, and you're like, "What have you been doing?" He's like, "I've been doing carpets."
Yes, he wanted to learn how to weave carpets, so he went to like Nepal. It's like, it's not, he didn't jump online and go, where's a master
Silver
class?
Lake, Silver Lake.
Right, Silver Lake. with like, some white dude who went to Afghanistan once. I'm going to show you how to weave a cup. No, and that was like, this is a real deal.
You, right?
He is one of the hardest work. So he did this Hendrix film with me. I'd never met him before, other than once we started working. He, lives in Atlanta, or when I knew him, he did. I believe he still does, but in that area, and moved out, not just flew out, moved out to LA for about, you talk about putting in the work, for about like maybe 5 months.
For Jimmy.
Wow. Lost a ton of weight.
Yeah.
Learned to mimic playing the guitar, strung upside down and backwards. So he had to learn to mimic, playing left, play like this, but Jimmy played like this.
Yeah.
And then we rehearsed for, which now, you talk about this rehearsal. We rehearsed for a month. Andre Haley Atwell, who's one of the most amazing humans I've ever worked with, Haley Atwell and Imogen Poots. And those two amazing actors spent so much time with Andre and developed a chemistry. And that's the other thing. You can rehearse.
The chemistry has to
be there. But building that chemistry.
It has to
be
there.
As we sit here, you got a Godfather t-shirt on, and I'm not trying to name drop, but I was really lucky. I got to work with Francis Ford Coppola really early in my career, and Sofia Coppola. And Francis's big thing is it's not just the time you spend rehearsing; it's the time you spend
with each other.
With each other.
Yeah.
He said it's the time you spend with an open bottle of wine, and just sitting and talking and feeling like, okay, whatever you do, Richard, I'm there for you.
I'm here with you.
If it works, great. If it doesn't, we got all kinds of film. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And that to me is the big thing, and that to me is what really made the difference with you all, is that you would come to set if you weren't working. You were curious about what was going on. The table reads were fun. One of the fun things that we did is we would redact scenes that were really, really interesting, that were like pivotal in that episode. So we'd have a table read and there'd be like an entire scene that was like blacked out. And so the actors would be like, oh, okay, what's going on this week? But it was like really fun, finding ways to have fun and enjoy each other's company. And the 13-hour days, the 14-hour day, well, I didn't let them go 14 hours, but they didn't feel that way. And setting a tone so that when the guest directors came in, they felt like they had some latitude, and they felt like they had some, there was a sandbox they could play in. It wasn't just this narrow alley you're walking down. It's a sandbox and play and have a good time.
Doc Talk.
Doc Talk is, so Doc Talk. You talk about the things that kind of keep me going, and you talk about, you were very kind to mention Let It Fall. That honestly is one of the things,
where did Doc Talk come from? Where was it? Where was it?
So born? A few years ago, I started something called Critical Content, and it was at the end of the year, having done a documentary, I had an appreciation both of what it takes to do a documentary, and a lot of documentary filmmakers, they're self-starters. There wasn't at that time a lot of money. There was a bit of a doc bubble, when Netflix and stuff like that, they wanted to do more docs. And then it turned out most people, they do like watching true crime docs. And again, I don't want to get down on it, but I'm like, I don't, the world's a bad place. I don't want to sit down and watch a documentary about more bad stuff that happened. Now, listen, obviously Let It Fall wasn't wasn't
the most
puppies
positive,
and puppies and butterflies, but it still to me was a deeper dive into sociopolitical and cultural things and things that we really need to talk about. But going through the process of making documentary, understanding how hard it is to get attention as a documentary filmmaker, particularly things that are really challenging, I wanted to talk about documentaries and elevate them. So I started something called Critical Content, where at the end of the year, we would talk to documentary filmmakers, people who created documentaries that I'd seen that I thought were just really incredible, either informative or had a high degree of artistry or what have you, and did that for about 3 years. And then we partnered with Deadline and No Studios, my company, where we produce things. And we started a weekly podcast that I do with Matt Carey at Deadline, who's one of the preeminent documentary journalists, a journalist who writes about and covers documentaries, documentary filmmaking, and filmmakers in the industry. And he's amazing. He's super knowledgeable and enthusiastic, and I just show up. And so it's just been this opportunity for us to try to elevate. Again, for me, at this point in my career, done pretty much everything. I'm very thankful for the career I've had, but I get more excited. I talked to a documentary filmmaker yesterday, Elaine Sheldon, who did a documentary called King Coal about the coal industry and people in the Appalachians. And it blew my mind, Richard. It just confronted me with my own biases about, when people say to me, the Appalachians or coal miners, I know where my thoughts go. And to be presented with your own biases, to be reminded that as much as you feel like you're progressive, well, no, you're not. To me, that's the power of storytelling. That's the power of filmmaking. And to be able to talk to individuals like Elaine and elevate what she made this an amazing documentary. She still doesn't have distribution, and she's out putting this out by herself, going city to city, theater to theater with something that is one of the most incredible pieces of work. But she can't get it. So if the only thing I can do at this point in my life is go, hey, I'm going to talk about it on my podcast. I'm going to talk about it on your podcast. I'm going to talk about it because if we're not supporting this, then it is going to be all true crime. And again, if people want to watch that and for whatever reason, that's good. Great. That's great.
But there's another...
we like 31 flavors.
Yeah, exactly.
Baskin Robbins ain't one flavor.
Yeah.
Hey, come to Baskin Robbins. We got one flavor. Golden Corral. We just got the fried shrimp. That's it.
I
kind of feel like mashed potato. No? You get the fried shrimp. But it's all you can eat. So that to me is really important now, is just, I don't know. I don't want to get down on where nobody wants to hear the old man going, it's really hard and it sucks. Yeah, we know it's hard and it sucks. But then, okay, if it's hard and it sucks, where's the joy? The joy is, can I elevate other people who are amazing and humble me? Can I write a graphic novel that when people, young readers of color, I wrote I read them when I was a kid. I didn't see people of color in it. So when I write them and I try as hard as I can to represent and put people in it. My son came to me and he said, when I started writing Batman, I wrote the new Batman, who's Lucius Fox's, if you remember the films, Morgan Freeman, who played Lucius Fox. And, people will know that character, but in the comic books, he has a son. And he had a son that had disappeared in the comic books for years, and he became the new Batman. And it was really interesting because I could write his backstory and all that kind of stuff. And I was so excited. I'm writing a Batman who happens to be a young kid of color, and how exciting that is. And the first issue came out, and I gave it to our younger son, and he looked at it. And I was so happy. And so our kids, they're multi-ethnic. And he was reading the comic book and he looked at it and he said to me, this is cool. And he just, I don't think there are any Blasian heroes. And my heart just broke. It was like, oh, fuck. He's like, you think you represent, but if you're not. When people look at something, they go, how many gay characters do we have to have on TV? How many Hispanic shows do we have to be on TV? As many as it takes. As many as it takes.
A lot of people say, when are you going to stop?
As many as it takes.
When are you going to stop talking about this shit? As long when it stops. When the shit stops.
When we get
together.
When the shit stops in real life. When there are no more, trans people, we'll stop doing shows about trans people. When it's there.
Right.
And to say, we have one,
it doesn't represent everything. No,
it doesn't. So when my son is telling, and I took a beat and I said, I just blurted to my son, I said, well, there will be. And I altered, again, and some things that had not yet happened with Jace Fox. It ended up, he's now, multi-ethnic and biracial. And there were things that happened in the story to get to that point that to me made the story even stronger. So it wasn't just about, I got to represent because my son wants to. How can I bake this into the DNA of the story so that it's in there in a way that actually makes sense for the story?
And
it has to make sense.
Challenge.
It has to make sense. You don't do it to do it. And that's the problem when it doesn't work, because somebody said, well, let's just throw this in here.
It does not.
And it does nothing. And it's not real and it's not connected and it's not part of story. So I get it. It can fail, but it fails when people do it.
And I think that's the key word, bake. It has to bake in there. It has
to be part of it. Because it's part of who we are. All the things, we are who we are.
It's part,
And that to me is really important. So to me, my thing right now, and for the time I got left, and I feel the time I got left. I mean, I feel it more, every day. You're like, oh, I feel it. It's running out. But what in the time I have left, is there, I don't want, and by the way, again, compared to the things you do, Rich, I mean, this is the easy stuff. I sit downstairs or write, oh, I'm going to write a Blasian character. Look, I'm so amazing. I have to remind myself, oh, it's so hard. Oh. And now the housekeeper's making noise. But you do the real work, Richard. And I want to, I'm going to end where I started, is that, part of it is just like when you call, you say, I'm going to call, you call, and I get excited because it's like, me, Richard, when I'm not talking to people, I disappear. I change my emails. I don't like to talk to people. I don't even like to get out of bed. This morning, I'm like, I got to go talk to Richard. I got to get out of bed. I'm in bed. But
I got to put on the uniform.
I got to put on the gray hoodie. I got to get my gray pants out.
Hey, wait, let me leave them. Halloween, first season.
Everybody on the crew. So I'm in the office. I wasn't shooting that day. Halloween the first, and I wear gray.
Say, what the I wasn't part of it. I was working that day. It was my scene, I think, and it was.
So I come over to the set. I was in the offices in the morning. I was writing. I was doing the
work shit,
executive, the work crap, not the fun stuff, not the stuff on set. And I'm like, lunch we were doing something or whatever. And I'm coming over at lunch and start seeing people. I'm dumb. I'm stupid. Also, go back to the beginning. I am stupid. So I'm on set and seeing all the folks, and the crew is family. We got the greatest crew.
Yeah.
We had the greatest crew. Just family, and start seeing people, and I'm like, something's going on. And I also wear, because I shave my head. I got a beanie because my head gets cold. So normally, like if I'm outdoors or whatever, I wear a gray beanie. I'm in gray, top to bottom. And I'm on set.
With some Kohans?
Kohans,
yeah.
And I'm like, wait, something's weird on set today. Something is, and I'm starting to realize. Everybody I'm running into is wearing gray hoodies and gray pants and gray shoes and a gray beanie. And all of a sudden I'm surrounded by people, and they're all waiting for me to get the joke.
Fuck yeah.
They're all waiting. They're like, how long is this going to take? And then finally I get it, and everybody is just cracking up. But I got it. That is why that show was, you can be on the show where the crew and the cast are just looking at their watches and I'm going to go home. Or you can be on the show where the crew and the cast are like, hey, John's coming to set today. It's Halloween. What are we going to do? John, everybody, Michael does fun stuff. Felicity's doing fun stuff. Everybody's doing fun. What are we doing fun? And that, honestly, part of the reason, if you're lucky, you see the apex of your life. If you're lucky, and I was lucky, I saw the apex in American crime. It'll never be that good again. But it's okay.
Yeah.
Because I got to meet people like you, Richard. I got to meet people like you. I got to meet people like Felicity. I got to meet people like Regina, who is like one of my wife's best friends now. Regina, just, when something's going on, and I mean it. I don't talk to people. I don't want to hear from people. But it's also those people, they'll call when they know something's up. And Regina will call my wife. Everything okay? You good? You'll call. John, I need some helping out on something. Can we go down to Homeboys? Can we figure something out? To me, that's what it's all about. It's a hard business. It's a hard life. I'm an imperfect person. But it was a nice moment in time. And like I said, I can tell stories about people like you. I can tell these stories about, a young actor I work with, and
when you met Ridley Scott, and he was
Ridley Scott.
Ridley Scott.
Oh my God. Ridley Scott loved American crime.
John, right? How cool
I'm
is that?
I'm in London, and I'm sitting with Ridley Scott, who's the nicest guy, and he's just sitting there going, same thing you're doing. So he's like, so it's not just, I kind of like your show. I'd love to meet you one day, and we'll just talk about Ridley Scott, talk about Gladiator, and talk about this. But this is a guy, Gladiator, Napoleon's getting ready to come out. All Aliens, Blade Runner.
All of this.
And we're sitting in his office, and he's just like, so that shot you had in season 2 where the two people are, and I'm like, why are you asking me about, he's literally, I mean, but that's the way it was. He's just fascinated. But it's like one of those things where you never expected
Here we are.
to be across or around or near. And my wife loves Timothy Hutton. She was just like, normally she doesn't come on set. Anytime Tim was shooting, turn around, Gail, oh, you're on set today. Hi, Tim. Did you need to run lines, Tim? But it was really special. But like I said, let me bring it all around. And to you, Richard, I mean, it is those kinds of things where I broke my heart you didn't win the Emmy, but maybe it's not that bad. You can tell the story to your grandkids. Let me tell you about the time your granddad lost an Emmy to Bill Murray.
Hey, there we go.
I mean, it's like, take it and turn it a little bit. But what you do and how you use your platform and how you use your time, that's really, really special. And you do remind people like me, like, okay, I'm not going to walk into incarceration and try to talk to men who are incarcerated, because what are they going to look at me and go, what the you don't know my experience. You're coming in here. I can tell you're scared. I can tell you don't feel like you're, really around people. I can't have that. I could. Maybe I could do some good.
Yeah.
You can look people in the eye and go, no, it's not easy. No, people are going to look at you and see the tats or see whatever.
Yeah.
But you see, Richard Cabral, you see Richard Cabral. You don't see whatever, a guy with a nickname or a guy who's got a gun or whatever. And every day, and I will tell you this, Richard, there are days where I'm like, I don't want to read the paper today. I don't want to read about Richard the way I read about that other young man. And every time I hear from you and things are good, or I see you driving some middle-class car, what the happened to you? I know life is okay. And life is good. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the podcast today. I hope I didn't embarrass you.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. And then I got to get on yours.
That'll be the next thing. Get this documentary about you and what you've done and the lives you've touched and the artistry that you do and really the work you put in. You're rigorous, Richard. And that's the other thing is that, I've gotten to the point in my life I realized that I wasn't rigorous in a lot of ways. And the work that you put in, that makes the difference. And I think that's the other thing is that everybody needs to understand. I never want to get on young people. I think people bag on young people. Life is different than it was when I was growing up. And the things I consider to be easy are just part of life right now, My dad did long division. I had a calculator. Things change. But there is rigor in the environment that we live in. And I would just say to people, don't be afraid to be rigorous in the things that you love.
Yeah.
If you love it, be rigorous. Because that'll make the difference. And I say that, I tell that to my kids, is you don't have to be rigorous at every single thing. If you're rigorous at everything, we wouldn't need an accountant. Accountant loves accounting. God bless him. If he didn't, I'd be on the street.
What you love, though, right?
My lawyers, they love being lawyers. And God bless them. Because when I've needed them, they've been there to save me. But you've been rigorous in the time that I've known you, in your professional life and your personal life. And I appreciate that. So keep being you, and you'll keep us steady.
Thank you, John. Yep.